So, about last week. The CMX Summit for this year was incredible. It was my first ever time going to a CMX Summit, so I have baby fresh eyes and a totally uninitiated take on what the CMX experience was like this year. CMX focuses on online community building and providing resources and expertise and networking opportunities for people who provide services or software or technologies in the area of online communities. So we, the attendees, were hearing from people like the VP of Community at Reddit and keynote speaker Priya Parker, who wrote The Art of Gathering. As I said, this is my first time attending CMX Summit. I previously, last April, some of you may remember, that I attended my first ever Community Builders event, which was in Memphis, and it was put on by the Community Leaders Institute. It was called CLIX, C-L-I-X. And that was kind of my first initiation into what it is like to be around other people who are professional community builders. And it was amazing. Cut to some footage. It was a lot of fun, and I was really excited about going to CMX and having the opportunity to reconnect with some of those people that I met there, deepen relationships with people that I've only met online, and just be a nerd and learn about online community building even more. So my recap of the event is through the lens of a newbie, novice, first-time attendee, so take it with a grain of whatever. First up, the keynote, seeing Priya Parker speak and getting to hear a very conversational approach to kind of breaking down the art of regathering, which is some of the resources that she's been putting out lately. It was amazing. It was just a huge joy to hear Priya speak. I am a huge fan of her book that I listened to on audiobook during the lockdown, so I cried most of my way through it. But hearing her speak was a joy. I really enjoyed all of her knowledge that she shared about The Art of Gathering, her book, as well as about, new takes on it. What does it mean to gather now, post-pandemic, etc. It was super insightful, and I'm really looking forward to rewatching the recording once it comes out, because there was just so many things that she shared that I really want to revisit and hear again. I got to meet a lot of people that I have already met and new people that I was looking forward to meeting. So that was another big plus of attending CMX in person. Obviously, there was the virtual component as well, and we're going to get to that in a second. But attending in person for me was really important because I got to meet some people that I had only ever met online or had met briefly in passing at CLIX. So getting to hang out with those people, obviously I'm an extrovert. I loved that. I was so into it, and just having that time and space that was really dedicated to okay, going into the event knowing that I want to make these connections and meet these people. Chef's kiss, it was wonderful, and all the chance meetings and new friends and all of that, just again, chef's kiss, it was wonderful. Getting to be with people, blah blah, I hope you're having FOMO. Because it was really great, just getting to go and be in an intentional space to learn and grow with others in the industry. It was amazing. I don't know what else to say on that topic. The sessions that I attended were really insightful. I didn't feel like any of them failed to deliver insight or were kind of I knew that. Again, I'm new to the industry, so some of the things for veterans might have been broken record. There were a couple sessions that I did not attend because I had already gotten the information. So one of them was Richard Millington. I love his work, absolutely. But I had heard his keynote in Memphis, and he was speaking on the same subject, and he had just a week or so before CMX delivered a webinar on the same subject that he was speaking on in person. So I went to a different session during that one just because I felt that I had already got that info. There was a live notes document that was like shared throughout the event. So I read through what other people who attended all the different sessions felt or what their key takeaways were from those sessions. That was super helpful and really nice. Shout out to Venia for organizing that. There's going to be a link in the description if you want to go check out those notes. Really, really awesome, and helped me, who was too mind blown the whole time, to actually sit down and take my own notes. I have been reflecting on the following things a lot since returning from CMX in San Fran. The major things that were like key features or common threads throughout a lot of the different sessions were hybrid events, virtual plus in-person, and considering that CMX was a hybrid event, I've been thinking a lot about how to make that work, what things I've liked, didn't like. We'll talk about that in a second. I've also been thinking about making meaningful opportunities for connection within community, and how do you facilitate those in ways that are valuable, semi-organic, but also very thoughtful, right? So one of the things that I do in the communities that I manage is I make it a really key point at my job as a community builder to know what everyone does, or to at least ask them what they want to get out of the community, and try to provide as many inroads for connections that will help them get that thing as possible. So there was a lot of talk in different sessions about just that, which is something I was already reflecting on. So I enjoyed having some different opinions and thought processes on how to achieve that. It was neat. Data analysis for various audiences. So I'm a nerd. If you're new here, I'm a big data nerd in my social marketing life as well as in my community building life. My mom was an accountant. I can't escape math. I love it. So hearing so many of the sessions talk about data, metrics, analysis, and like proposing different ways to analyze community, and how do you present it to different groups, different stakeholders, your members, your CEO, whatever. I, as a nerd, really loved that. I liked that that was a common thread throughout. I like hearing that there are questions about analytics that everybody is facing and how different people address those questions. So I really, really love hearing how other people troubleshoot that or problem solve that. It's especially in alignment with a new role that I've taken on at Communify. Shout out. They're a new client of mine that I've been working for the past few months. I'm really, really enjoying working in the community industry with someone who's in the data space. So it's been very enjoyable to see that that is a commonly faced problem throughout the industry, and that there are a lot of different approaches to solve the question of how do you prove the value of a community. I have lots of thoughts on that. Maybe that's a separate video. Other thing, I'm looking at my notes. Other things that I very much enjoyed. The existence of a lot of different low difficulty, high impact actions that you can take within community. A lot of the different sessions talked about those sorts of things, so I really enjoyed hearing those. I don't know, as a community builder, it's kind of reassuring to be like, okay, the small actions really do matter. The small, consistent, repetitive actions are really, truly going to make a difference at scale. Like hearing from big companies like Booking.com and bunches of other like major corporate players talking about how these small actions really do impact the overall success of a community, it just makes me happy. It makes me feel very validated in the work that I do and in my learning so far. So that, yay, gold star checkbox, that was fun. The other piece that I've been reflecting on a lot since returning from CMX is empowering members to feel to exhibit a higher sense of engagement through ownership. So like through co-building of community. And that, like, I don't know, now that I'm saying it out loud, it's like, yeah, obviously people care about something that they're helping make, but the different ways that were presented at CMX to kind of do that, through advocacy, through different loyalty programs, or just in general, like feedback and receptiveness to feedback that different communities can exhibit. Love it. This was something that was talked about at CLIX a lot too, about how to get members involved in a really deep sense. So I love that. Those are my major takeaways. Day one was packed with a lot of knowledge. Priya Parker was day one, which was amazing. We heard from Bevy, professionals, CMX, lots and lots of different really great people spoke. And then on day two, it was also awesome. I noticed for myself, this is me speaking for me, I noticed that by day two, my brain was really ready to melt, which to me was an indication of like the perfect amount of quality and density of content. So saturation, caliber, whatever you want to call it, the amount of content that was presented, the amount of opportunities for different events that were presented felt really good, because by the end of it I was like, okay, it felt like the natural place to close off after 2 days of sessions. When I went to CLIX, I did not know what to expect, and I really felt like I was grasping a runaway train of like information, knowledge, and ways to connect with people and resources, and like I was barely holding on to all the different opportunities that were like for knowledge that were even presented at the event. And at CMX I felt like, and I mean really this is probably just because I was so overwhelmed by how awesome the community industry is, and now I was like expecting some level of awesomeness from the attendees and participants. So when I got to CMX, I felt like I had a much better handle on what to do next, on how to follow up with people, on how to create connections and continue to build on those relationships, and what resources to pursue, things like that. Obviously, it was still like overwhelming in a good way with information and opportunities and great connections and people, but I felt much more like I have just tapped the surface at CMX, but I knew how to keep going. Like, I know what to do next. I know how to keep accessing the good things that came from CMX. Whereas at CLIX, I was like, am I gonna lose all of this momentum? Is this all just gonna disappear? And it didn't, but I think that's more of the newbie syndrome than anything, the overwhelm in that respect. My unsolicited hot takes that of course you are all here for. If you've listened this far, you are ready for my total noob hot takes on the CMX experience. First, maybe controversial, I am not a fan of how the Bevy app integrated with the in-person event. I attended in person, right? I did try to access some of the virtual experience through the app, like to tune into some sessions that either I was coming back from lunch or I was just gonna sit outside because the one stage was too crowded. I'm like, I'll just listen from outside on my phone. I found it difficult to access. I'm a person who is very tech savvy, uses a ton of apps, and I have a lot of experience being a user of different hybrid event devices, and I found it as a virtual user, or the hybrid features of it, not super seamless. I know there is no perfect option. I know that. I understand that. I'm not suggesting that there is a perfect option. I'm saying out of the experiences that I've had at hybrid events, it did feel a little bit disjointed. And that is kind of a bummer, considering Bevy was one of the organizers. One of the big things that a lot of attendees, we were chatting about hybrid events a lot. One of the things that we a few different people I talked to discussed is how awesome it would have been to have selections from the virtual chat appear on the projected screen while speakers in person were talking, to create that kind of unified continuity between the chat and the in-person, which I think is a great idea, and I think that they should do it next year. I loved these are random hot takes. There's no order or rhyme or reason. I loved the QR codes on the name tags. I thought that was really handy. I liked scanning other people's, being able to pull up their LinkedIn and other links. Obviously, it's only as good as the information you put into it. And it didn't always work. Like, I had a couple people that I scanned theirs and they had filled theirs in, but it just went to a Google query, which I don't know if that was just a fail-safe so that it didn't error out, and it's emergency default was to just do a Google search of the person's name. Not really sure, but I liked that that was a feature on name tags, so just quickly share information. I thought that was great. The after party for networking on day one was really loud and crowded. For a cocktail hour, party vibe, sure, but I felt like it was being billed as networking time. I don't think it really fostered that or conversation particularly. I love that there was an official karaoke party. I also really loved, shout out to Pablo for putting that together. That was awesome. Even though I didn't attend, I just really like that in the community industry, people really take ownership of events as community professionals and do things to foster that sense of camaraderie and friendship. The Bevy/CMX team did a good job in person of doing that as well, with the impromptu beanbag toss / cornhole tournament. Hilarious. On day one, they had kind of a let's do this for fun, let's just hang out and do it in the afternoon break. And then by day two, they made a sponsor bracket, had their sponsors have teams of attendees that they put up, and they were competing for prizes. That was hilarious. It was so much fun to watch, and it was such great energy and just fun competition that, again, awesome way to build community and just be fun and goofy. And I like that this industry allows for people to not take themselves too seriously and just have some good fun as humans together. My other hot takes, I have two more. I'm feeling super impatient waiting for the recordings. I know that's not just a me thing, and I know that the editing team and the AV team, they were amazing and they were working super hard. This is just me being selfish. I want those recordings instantaneously. I know that's not possible, but I really, I have the shared notes document, and I want to go back and review things that I missed, things that I attended, and see if there were other takeaways, or I know there were things that I wanted to go back and rehear and revisit. I'm the type of person that I want to review that as soon as I can after the event. I would love to be spending all day today doing that. They're not available yet, so that's not the case. It's okay, right? It's fine. I have to wait, so I will. These are hot takes that are picky and no one asked for. My final hot take, that's not really a hot take or a controversial statement at all. The shared notes document was really awesome. I loved that came together and that people really contributed to it. I benefited directly from it almost immediately, because there were things where I was I'm going to remember that quote. And I did not remember that quote, but miraculously, many other people thought the quote was also poignant, and they shared it in that speakers section of the shared notes document. I don't know how helpful the shared notes document would be if you didn't attend the conference or the sessions, because there were some sessions that I read the notes for, and having not attended that session, they're easy to understand, but I'm like, okay, I feel like this would be more helpful if I had additional context. But the sessions I did attend, looking at the notes, really, really great, really, really useful. I will link them down below. Again, shout out to Venia for putting that together. That was super cool. That's my recap while it's still fresh in my mind and I'm still on vacay mode, working from home. That's my recap of CMX. That's what I'm still obviously riding high from hanging out with so many cool people and getting to experience California and San Francisco for the first time ever. I got to go and explore the city for the 2 days after the event and meet up with a couple people from the conference and just spend some time enjoying being a tourist, which was amazing. How cool is that? If you attended CMX, drop your hot takes, your arguments, your agreements, whatever, in the comments below. I am so grateful to have had this opportunity to go, and you can expect a lot more coherent thoughts to come out of my attendance of this event. So again, thanks for watching and making it all the way to the end. Like and subscribe, and until next time, stay badass.